guys, you're listening to Andreas Talks Art.
And today I am sitting down with the creator of Hooey Doodles. So let's sit down and talk with Alexi.
First off, I want to know how you got into art.
Yeah, so my father was actually an artist.
Okay.
He moved to Boulder in like the 70s, got his master's at CU, and then just like kind of made it his career.
Cool.
Yeah, so he's just a career artist his whole entire life,
Dang.
which was awesome.
What does he do?
He did like super abstract work.
Oh,
I like his stuff from like the 90s actually a lot, which is like he just took like a really big, nice piece of paper and would just take like oil paints and glue stuff to it, but like in a really cool, unique way. And it was very cool. And then he kind of started working with like copper and metals, and then he moved into like plexiglass, which was super cool. And what he ended up doing was like taking plexiglass, and this is when I was a kid, like kind of right as I started to like kind of be interested in art and everything.
Yeah.
He would take plexiglass, and it comes with that like piece of paper like kind of glued to the back.
Right,
and what he would do is like kind of cut designs into it, spray paint it, cut designs, peel that back, spray paint it, cut designs, and then he would like take paint thinner, and they would just like all kind of mix together and make these crazy designs and things. And this is like right as I started like getting into drawing and like producing things myself, like in middle school, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that was a huge influence on me, was like seeing
Definitely.
this process. And I think it kind of warped my view on art as well, because like he's my favorite artist,
Right.
you know, and now I like
Right.
have this way of looking at art and being like knowing what I like and knowing what I don't like, and him being, you know, influential that way, and just making, I mean, it's so hard to explain. It's almost like my own art.
Okay.
It's just really, really difficult to explain
Yeah.
what it is, but
Yeah. That's cool, because I feel like, I mean, it's hard enough to like make it as an artist, but then as an abstract artist, that's such a, to find like, to make a living out of that is that's crazy. That's awesome.
yeah, and it's cool because you're making these things that like people really don't understand, and then it's frustrating at the same time because you see these paintings, and you know, whether it be like stickers or paintings or whatever of like real things
Right.
that you think is like half as good as this abstract stuff, but it's something that people can relate to, and it like
Right.
it sells.
Right.
So I think that's what's really, I saw that with my father, because I think, you know, he saw himself as talented. I saw him like how talented he was, but it just, you know, he was able to make a living doing it, but it wasn't, you know, what we wanted.
Yeah,
you know, as
yeah.
successful as we wanted it to be.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like do you, like how did he make it work? Was he going to art shows or?
Yeah, so he had like galleries and representatives that would
Okay.
they'd like art consultants or whatever, you know, rich people would come and be like, hey, we need
Yeah.
art that fits this wall or whatever, and
Okay.
they would be kind of like, and he would be in their back pocket
Huh.
to do that. But in the end he was selling mainly out of his own studio, and that was like kind of more of his moneymaker.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was super cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, and you know, he worked out of it for like 20 something years, and then he had a handshake deal with the landlord, and you know, I don't think his rent increased for like 20 something years, and then the landlord died, and his family came in and quadrupled his rent. You know, and I was like, so he lost this space that like I grew up in, and
Dang.
yeah, but it was cool because I had like access to like his whole studio. He didn't care
Yeah.
like when I was there, if I was there without him. I could like bring friends over, but I had access to this like whole studio.
Were you doing art with him a lot, or?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would. He would bring me in sometimes,
Nice.
usually after a few beers. He'd
That's
be like, "Come
fun.
help me with this," you know, and like do this thing, you know, together.
Okay.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I wish I had access to now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so he got kicked out of the studio, and then he passed away like not too long after.
Oh, man.
But I think it's because he was kind of the artist of the family. I didn't really ever push my own art while he was around, because I feel like I didn't realize this at the time. I kind of came to terms with this recently, that like I think I would have been like I would have felt like I was stepping on his toes.
Okay.
Yeah, had I like been producing and like pushing my own art.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he passed away that I like really kind of poured all of myself into like making, producing, printing
Interesting.
into these new projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I regret that, because it's like that was a resource that I could have I had
Right.
available to me and just never like took advantage of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense though. If he's like you're the artist and like that's what he does, and yeah, that's like feel like you're kind of stepping on him, but like yeah, I don't know. It's like definitely see that after the fact, like
Mm-hmm.
you probably couldn't have seen that until after.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like so what do you mean when you said you like got all into it? Like what did you start doing?
So I had been, I was always kind of like doodling on my sketchbooks and everything,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't until I got into digital that I really started to push myself
Okay.
into making these things that I kind of like had in not so much in my head, but like not to be corny or anything, but kind of in my soul.
Okay.
Because I never know what these things are going to look like or
Yeah.
anything. But they were never really what I wanted it to be until I started working with digital. And then that's really when they started to pop. And I was like, oh, like this is what I've been waiting for. Like
Yeah.
this is the technique I need in order to make like these objects in a way that I want them to, like I've always wanted them to look.
What was it about using digital, like the way you could color it or drawing the lines or?
Yeah, it's, I think it was bringing in texture. It was,
Oh, yeah.
That was huge. And then just playing with color palettes as well. Because I would say like 80% of the time when I first bring in colors, I just stick with it. But then there are other times where I'll bring in the colors and I'll be working and I'll be like, no, this isn't right. And I can just clear all of that away and then just like restart again with the colors, which
Yeah.
I think is really big. Because colors are really important to me. And the way that they like reflect off of each other and work with each other. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah. I mean, because your stuff is like permanent. I mean, is there ever a time where you're like, oh, like I wish I didn't have this color?
Yeah, that happens often. Because usually like I'll pick my colors out as I go, and they like build off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then like as I'm going, I like look down on other like colors that I used earlier, and I'm like, it's like starts becoming like too much, or
Mhm.
like they don't work together. So that's something I've been trying to do is like decide colors beforehand, because I never used to do that before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely changed a lot too, because it's like once like it's permanent, so I either have to cover it up or do something new, or it's a whole thing.
So you start with like a color palette, or you
I've
just
been
kind of like
starting to do that recently.
Yeah.
Like with the piece we did together, I having your piece, I used that to like pick colors to go off of it.
Okay.
And then so I had all the colors in mind before that, but yeah, up until like recently, I would just kind of build off as I go and not really have a set color palette.
Yeah, for
until
sure.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've said it like 3 times already, and I have to say it again. I love that you kept the flag white.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I was like, in my mind when I sent it to you, I was expecting like this, like something intricate in there, or
Right,
just
right.
like kind of like bold colors or whatever. And then you sent it to me, and I was like, oh, it's white. This is awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, I immediately imagined this like space battle,
Mhm.
and then it was just this guy surrendering, and like it's kind of the end of it, they're all at peace, the battle's over.
Yeah.
Just throw up the white flag.
Okay. Oh, that's so interesting that you see it, because I see it as like, kind of like a spaceship coming in to like kind of like colonize like another planet.
Okay, yeah.
And everyone, all these colonization, and brought their flags and threw them down, and then I see him coming in with just like a surrender flag, which means like going away, but he's coming in. I don't know. For me, it was a really funny juxtaposition.
Yeah, it was funny too, because like there's these planets and he's just drifting off on this little hooey.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was fun for sure.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
No, you did a great job with the colors.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, what about photography? Did that come after or before art, or?
No, photography, that's kind of the first thing that I jumped into. That
Okay.
was in high school. I took like every single photography class that was available to me. And
Yeah.
my photography teacher actually had to start making like new classes just for me.
Oh shoot.
Like I would just like re-sign up for the class, but he'd be like, okay, like we're gonna do different assignments. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
do your own thing. And then I went to college, and I was like one of the last people to ever use the darkroom there. And then they tore the darkroom out, and then that's when I moved to digital. But I mean, since I was in high school, photography has been, like a big, like part
Yeah.
of like what I like.
That's
And
awesome.
it's so weird too, because it's like, there's like this kind of like abstract photography, where you're taking photos of things that don't make sense. And when it comes to
Right.
like my digital art and my art is I don't like to draw people, especially. But my subject when it comes to photography, my favorite subject is people. Like in candid situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the strongest photography I have.
So do you think your art and photography relate at all, or they feel like two totally separate things?
They feel like two totally separate things.
Yeah.
They feel like two hobbies. I do occasionally bring them together.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've
I've
seen.
seen some of your digital, like, over top of your photography with the people.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty
yeah. So I'll paint over some of the photos, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I keep them like totally separate. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe in the future I'll bring them back together, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
How do you think you like developed your photography style?
Oh man, over a long period of time.
Right. You
'Cause-
you still consistently go take pictures and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Usually when I go out, like kind of adventures with my
Yeah,
friends, going next week to raft the Chama River. So
Okay.
I'll be shooting photos of my buddies and dogs and the river and wildlife out there. But yeah, if you look, because the one project that I remember in particular in high school was I was taking black and white photos of graffiti,
Yeah.
especially like a big graffiti wall in Boulder.
Yeah.
And I would print it black and white on this like special paper, and I would go through and recolor,
Oh, that's
which was
pretty
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think would be really interesting now that you got my brain going. Like maybe that's something I need to like.
Yeah, especially with your digital work now, that would be interesting.
Exactly. That would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things I feel like you could do with that, because like, I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you about was your digital style too, and like I've noticed a lot of themes, like rocket ships and space are a big theme,
Yeah.
and that's just like you take like these photos and have these like crazy rocket ships going in the sky and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
It's funny because I just found just recently I won the Boulder Science Fair like T-shirt contest when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
And it's of a rocket ship
Okay.
like going across with the sun in the back and like kind of like elements and stars and everything. And so I showed my girlfriend and she was like, "Oh, like you've been drawing rockets for a while." Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just
But,
like, yeah. Is there something to the rockets, or that just?
I don't know. I think it's fascinating because I do like ray guns,
Yeah.
too, and I just think that like weird 50s aesthetic is really cool.
Yeah.
But I've tried to like replicate like the old comic book like
Okay.
style,
Yeah, yeah.
and it doesn't work with just like how my hand and brain works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed like you used to do a lot of mandalas too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still do that? Or
Yeah, no, because I kind of like go back and forth because I
Yeah.
called them star factories.
Okay.
Because they kind of looked like they were like producing, black matter and
Yeah,
stars
yeah.
and elements and everything. I'd like to get back into it, but I just, I do something for, a little while and then I just kind of veer off. I'm sure
Yeah,
it's the same for
definitely.
you. Yeah.
I know. I kind of wish I wouldn't veer off as much, but it all kind of works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you have like a series? Do you name your pieces?
Yeah. That's depending on the piece, but that's sometimes like the hardest part for me. Like
Uh-huh.
I feel like at the end I'll just like something random will come to me and that'll be the piece. But I do like some series. Like a lot of my characters will be in series. Like I have this pot leaf that I draw, and he's like there's a whole series I've done. I think I've done like 7 paintings of him now.
I think, and you got stickers of him. I
And
think,
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
made stickers of pretty much all those paintings too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the high rider
Uh-huh.
because he's like always riding something.
Uh-huh.
It started off like him riding a skateboard, and then a surfboard, and then a snowboard.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it just kind of evolved like him sitting on a couch, riding the couch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so some ideas, like if I really feel connected to them, they'll like I want to keep working on them, and then they'll become a series. But a lot of them, I'll just like something I'll do, and then like move on to another thing. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
the name isn't as like important for those pieces. I feel like.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it kind of depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I learned from my father too, is because like he just made series. I mean, none of his pieces actually, I think, ever had a name.
Okay.
It was like Mystic something series or like
Oh.
Wave series or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah. So I think that really helped me. because it was like, okay, like I'm gonna do like 4 of these. I'm gonna
Yeah.
name them like Star Factory series.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is cool. Did he have a reason for doing that?
I don't know. I wish I could ask him.
It does kind of make sense because, like, yeah, I often do like a lot of renditions, and it's like it already is a series, but like just thinking of it as a series, it like makes it make more sense. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just do a bunch of different one of these, and they're all go together in the series, and it allows you to like practice a technique or whatever you're doing it
exactly.
multiple times, and no, that's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've wanted to get back into those mandalas recently. So yeah, do you like them?
Yeah, those are cool. I really like that one piece you did. It's pinned up. It's the one that spent 12 hours, 49 minutes, 7,936 strokes doing, and it's not so much a mandala, but like all the little pieces like going together, and then just like those are
Is it
epic.
like the Buddha one, or is it the kind of puzzle with
puzzle.
that negative circle of space?
Yeah.
That one was awesome. I really liked doing that, but oh my god, that was by the end I was losing it.
Is that the like biggest project you think you've worked on?
Probably that or the Buddha.
Okay.
Like that mandala Buddha that I did. Yeah, because those are different. Those are kind of like interconnecting or kind of juxtaposed, like kind of fit together shapes, where the mandalas, the Star Factories, kind of like come into each other and kind of weave into each other.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just 2 different ways to do things, and I don't know. Do you ever find that like you like something you did like a year ago, you did it 10-20 times and it was like automatic, and then you didn't do it for a year, and then you like come back to do something similar and you just don't bring in those same techniques?
I feel like that a lot. Like, it's weird looking back on older pieces too, because a lot of it, it's like, I feel like most of it, I feel like I've progressed and really come further, but then there's other pieces where I'm like not sure if I can make that again.
Yeah, you like lose like you're like, how did I do that?
No, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't touch this piece because I can never replicate this how I did.
It's such an interesting feeling looking at older pieces and just being like, oh yeah, like that's how I did that, and it was really successful. Why am I not replicating it?
That's interesting, because like with digital, do you always just save a like flattened file, or do you ever save the file you're working on from like old pieces?
Oh, so yeah,
like,
so I work with like within layers,
right,
and everything. I don't flatten anything.
Okay.
Yeah, until I'm gonna print it and then export it as a JPEG. But otherwise, I try to keep as many of the layers as possible, and I like hate merging layers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that's like you could almost go back and look and like take back the layers and kind of see how you did it, but there's still like the factor of like practicing and being able to actually do that with your hand and everything.
Exactly.
But
and then like losing track of like a brush.
Oh,
that
true.
you look at something and you're like, "Whoa, this brush is awesome. Where is it?" And you spend like 30 minutes going through every brush folder trying to find it, and you're just like, "I don't know how I did that."
Dude, that's like the hardest thing about digital is like staying organized with all the files.
Yeah. Luckily, I come from a graphic design background, so like files and like keeping everything organized was like ingrained to us. Like in Illustrator when you're doing like design jobs and everything, so I was lucky that I was like able to bring that into like my paintings now. So I like know like when I'm looking for like a specific layer, I'm like, I know where this layer is.
Nice. Yeah, you definitely need that.
Yeah.
So what is a hui?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a thing or like a stuff.
Okay.
Because I kind of came up with it when I was trying to find my first Instagram handle.
Yeah.
For like my photography, and I was like living in Southwest Colorado, so I was like Southwest hui, like stuff, things, like just, like, I don't know. I get that question a lot, and it's like, I don't know if I thought it was a word, I just like, I don't know.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
And
I got really lucky because it's not used very often.
Yeah.
It's unique, and hui doodles sounds awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so going along with that, I guess, how did you develop your art style? Because I feel like that's something a lot of artists want to do, and it's hard for people to just like develop a style. But I feel like you definitely have that. Your Hui, like you say it's a thing, but like if I saw it and it didn't have your name on it, I feel like I know right away it's your piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really lucky that way because I kind of developed it on accident and perfected it without even really knowing it. So while I was in middle school and high school and beginning of college, I would sit there with like a notepad and be listening. And the way that I listen is I just like draw. And I think I just remember being like probably in like 6th grade and like kind of drawing this like first initial like Hui shape that kind of like had like this thing, and it was really simple. And I was like, oh, this looks like really cool. So I'm just like kind of started doing more while I was listening to like the lecture or like whatever the thing was. And then by the time I was in 7th and 8th grade, my whole notes would just be like these shapes.
Yeah.
With like little bits of notes kind of spattered in between. I had a tutor at the time who would always just be like, what is this? Yeah, it's a Hui. And it was like the college ruled paper, so I would like use those lines. And I was, I didn't realize at the time, but I was like perfecting drawing like a straight line and and using it to like draw a circle and then like kind of just experimenting. And now when I draw, half the time I'm listening to like lectures. I just like throw on like C-SPAN lectures from history or like, weird YouTube, geography or geology or something, like I can't. It looks like because they look so musical, but I just can't draw really to music. I like have to have that like drone of like a lecturer.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
they do look musical. Like they look alive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. But I'm kind of similar. Like I can listen to music. It kind of goes like in waves if I like listening to like lectures and people talking or music. But it's funny like being out of school now and like kind of needing that. Like I just in school like that boredom, like drawing was such an escape to like get away from that. Now kind of like needing something in the background to get into that similar space, I guess. Yeah.
What do you listen to now when you do it?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of YouTube, just go down weird rabbit holes. It's or like music, I'll listen to like a lot of like freestyle rap.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely need something like in the background though. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just like how I kind of like accidentally developed that style. Because it was like in college I just started filling sketchbooks, just like filling them with just like simple, like I got really nice black pens and they were just all in black and white.
Nice.
And I would just fill up pages. And then I got a red pen and a blue pen, like a really nice red and blue, and I would like kind of fill in like the little dots or like a little line or something, and just started to add color. And that's like how that's I was cool. Like, okay, like I think this is like my style. Like I can't stop drawing this.
I'm trying, but I can't stop.
Yeah. I'm sure it's like your little guy, your little logo guy.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've drawn him now.
Yeah. Does he have a name?
He doesn't have a name. That's people always ask me that too. And there's nothing that's like a word that stuck with me that I feel like rhymes with him. Like I've had a lot of people ask me if he's me.
Yeah.
And he might be me, but like he's just kind of like my symbol, and like he's just kind of like the dude, like he doesn't have a name yet.
When's the first time you drew him?
The first time I drew him was probably 4 years ago. I remember I'd like sprained my ankle the day before skating, and I had this idea of like this character that I wanted to go with my art, and I just knew I wanted a character, and I didn't really know anything else, and I like couldn't even walk the next day, so I was just like in my room like sketching in my book, and like I just started drawing eyes, and I filled a whole page with all these cartoon eyes, and then I remember drawing the squiggly eyes and like really liking those, and then I started drawing different creatures, and I think I probably drew a whole page of creatures with squiggly eyes, and then I drew his face with the mouth, and then it just evolved from there, and then I was like, okay, this is it, this is the face. But then like I wanted him to like not be able to change, so then like I was like, okay, he's gonna just be wearing like different costumes all the time. And then like I drew the cat, that was the first one, and then just started drawing other animals, and yeah, it just kept evolving. But
Did you like know at the time like kind of what it was going to evolve into? Like, did you have that feeling like, oh,
it
like,
happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was like a couple steps, but it did happen like within like in that day, like it kind of just all happened.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever go back through like old stuff
Yeah.
to like kind of like get inspiration for to like bring forward into that like?
I have done that before. I like to just go through old stuff, and I don't always like. I should do that more and like actually like use some of those ideas, but it's fun to just go back and see where my mind was, and like I have most of my like high school binders, and I've like thrown away everything, but it's just my doodles in them now. I have like 3 binders from high school and some other notebooks and stuff. So like I'll like occasionally go back, but I should. There's a couple times where I've made pieces intentionally, but yeah, I should definitely do that more because
I've wanted to do that as well. Like, cause my stuff is just like so packed away, but it's like I need to bring some of those out and like work with those, like bring those shapes in again.
Yeah, because there's some like how we were saying before, some stuff where like not necessarily like I couldn't do it again, but like the thought, is just such a random weird thought, like such a cool idea in that moment where I won't think of that idea, but it's like it's an interesting pattern or shape or creature or whatever. Like I remember I did do that with one of the first, like I have this book of creatures that I drew, and I took one of those guys and digitally colored him and stuff, and I should do more of those because that guy turned out pretty cool. Yeah.
Is that where these guys came from as well? Like
the pink guy.
The pink guy.
Yeah, he's from an old doodle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He's actually from an old painting, probably like 2 years old, so not super old, but
Yeah, I really need to do that as well. Just like go back through those, because sometimes I feel like I run out of like these Hui shapes.
Yeah,
I'm like, I know that they have like thousands
in
the stockpile. Like, let me get some of these out of here.
So where do you get your inspiration from?
I don't know. I sit down and I have no idea what it's going to look like, what it's going to do, and I just kind of make some shapes and lines, these circles that I'm just like now professional at. You know, because I've just done it a billion times. And they're never the same. But I just know that style. I know how they like interconnect successfully, and what shapes kind of go with what, and where the lines can come in and intersect, and once I get, because I always start with like that first initial shape, and then make that like my foreground, that's going to be my subject, and then just kind of work off of there. Make like a middle ground, and then kind of fill those in and work with the texture and coloring then, and then the background's the last thing I work with.
What about the ones where like the rocket ship ones, or you did that aerial one of the plane flying over? Do you start with like that shape of the plane, or do you start with the random shapes and then like see the plane in it? Yeah,
so the rockets and those starships are like kind of the only ones that I actually like sketch out. But again, like I won't know what it's gonna look like. Since I've been a kid, I'm a huge airplane nerd. Like, you show me a picture of an airplane, I can tell you what it is. So there's like sometimes where it's like part of like some World War II bomber or some fighter from the 80s or something that I know I like want to like incorporate that one part of it. So I'll like bring that in, and like F4 Phantom or something. It's like I want that wing shape. So I'll like go in and I'll use that wing shape and then like get rid of it and then just like kind of work off of there or something. That's like really the only time that, but yeah, most of the time those rockets and starships, I have no idea what. So
the one thing I really like you did was like the ray gun series, but then you would have a whole diagram, and like it wasn't just a drawing. Like each thing you would like label what it is and what it does, and like the whole backstory of it, and like I just thought that idea was like really cool, because it's like you're not just drawing a ray gun, you're like making up like what everything on the ray gun is going to be.
What each stupid little component does. And then with like the acronyms, it was like the dome, and the acronym spelled dome, I think, I don't know where, I must have seen something on like Pinterest or something that like did something, where I had it all labeled. Maybe like when I was in the middle of that drawing, and I was like, I think it'd be really funny if I like labeled what these things are. So I've done it a couple times now.
Nice.
But Yeah, those ray guns. I don't know why. I loved like those old 50s like ray guns, and I would love like staring at them. And another like thing is, so I never like really had TV in my house growing up, but we had like 3 VHS tapes of Ren
nice.
and Stimpy, and my dad loved Ren and Stimpy, so we would like do it. And it's like there's like these weird cut scenes of like weird sci-fi things. There's like one when they're in space and Ren is like holding a ray gun, and I remember as a kid like being so fascinated, like pausing and staring at this ray gun.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's epic. No, definitely having the labels makes it a lot more funny.
Yeah. And I think that's like the graphic design. Like the graphic
true.
designer of me, like coming out again, and like, throwing it in, and
Yeah, I like that. You just did that poster recently too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that feels very like graphic design. Like, so did you? What were you doing with graphic design or?
So I graduated from the Fort with the graphic design degree, and then kind of just worked for like some startup companies. And everything in Durango. Had the same boss twice. She loved me, I loved her, and we worked really well together. So I was doing that, and then started a graphic design company like with my buddy that only lasted probably about 2 years, and then we kind of folded and split ways. But it was something that I was really passionate about, but it never really took off. Like that spark like never really hit. I don't know. Yeah, my graphic design professor, I think he's a little disappointed because I was his TA again. Like I was doubling up his classes, like doing them again, and he would just like make like I think I did his typography class 3 times. He'd just be like, okay, like I'm gonna figure out a different project for you. So graphic design is something I'm still passionate about. But, yeah.
I mean, you're still doing it. It's just more way super graphic now.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever get into graphic design at all?
Yeah, I went to school for that too.
Okay.
And then I've been like ever since like doing freelancing, but it's like here and there, like whenever it comes up. But yeah, I love it too. Like I remember, I probably took at least 3 typography classes, and those were at first that was like my least favorite class, but then I like grew to love it. But at first I was like, dang, this is not what I came here for.
Yeah, exactly, because it seems so rigid. Because there like are these rules that you kind of like do have to follow and everything, and make everything concise. Because I'm looking at your snowboard here, and just like, there are like graphic design like styles and elements to it that like it makes it work. It's balanced and everything. But
So like that was awesome because that was some of my favorite classes I got to take too. Like I remember taking like color theory. That was such a cool class.
Yeah.
And I took some photography and videography classes and just all the general art classes. Just like so much from all of those, like the basics of how to like create a composition and balance everything, and that was super interesting. Yeah.
But on that, because we talked a little bit before we got started about like snowboards design and everything. I mean, because we were talking about how I think we were in agreement that we want to see like that art element like come out into it. Do you think that's going to happen? Is that going to be like a style that
I hope
gets
so.
explored?
I hope so. Yeah. Like I was saying before, it's weird because they're companies, and they at the end of the day have to make money, right? So they just follow trends because they know that's going to make money. And like how you're saying, you see a lot of simple graphics. And they're cool graphics, but they're simple. But kind of, I think it's similar to how we were talking before about the abstract art versus these images people recognize. Like these simple graphics are like something more people are potentially gonna buy. But I think it's just all about like finding like the right balance. And I think it definitely could and should happen because it's like it's snowboarding. It's something like it's this wild sport. Like why wouldn't you have wild like art on it? Like.
Because did you see my snowboard designs?
I was gonna ask you about that too.
Yeah, because like the mandalas on there and the rockets and the ray guns is just like just like everyone who sees them is like, this is awesome.
Right.
Like this is way cooler than like snowboards you buy now with like a mountain scene or like you know,
Couple
like
color
white
blocks.
clouds with like a bird like in, you know, lost in the clouds or something, or blocks.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and like that's what I'm trying to do is like hopefully eventually get to do art for them, and like not just like do some like wild stuff, I guess, like because it's hard to say like it's still art what they're doing, but like I don't want to say it's not real art, but like I guess like some more wild like stuff that's
it's
like,
more graphic design.
more graphic,
It's graphic design, not art.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think the problem with it is it's just like too many like people coming up with the ideas and trying to like make it work for everyone. When it's like it's something where like I don't see why it couldn't work, you know, because like every company has like all their different line of boards, right? So they can keep all their like the graphics they have and like test it out with like some models, you know, where they know like oh, there's a park board, like more artists are probably, or like people who are into like crazier stuff are gonna buy this, so like we can try some wild graphics on it. So it's something where like I don't see why it can't work or doesn't, but
or even like youth boards. You
Yeah.
know, because like that, you know, kids are gonna want like something crazy.
Yeah.
You know, because
Kids
they
don't care about
they don't care
graphics.
like what it does. They care about what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when I first bought boards, like my first board I bought, like just wanted like the coolest graphic.
Yeah.
And that was like what I bought it based off of. Skateboards, pretty much everything. I was like, that looks sick.
Yeah, exactly. And because it was like, I guess with skateboarding, I guess it makes more sense because it's probably a lot cheaper and faster to produce and everything. But you can get, you get a skateboard with just like the company logo on it, or you can get like some crazy illustration on it, or like something really abstract and everything in between all those.
Yeah, there's really no reason for it not to be crazy.
Yeah.
That's how I think. So that's what I'm trying to do, hopefully.
Yeah, nice. Well, I hope you push it that way.
Yeah. And I was gonna ask too about like your snowboards and like is that just like something you were doing for fun? Were you trying to like actually start designing boards, or just putting it out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I'd compiled like quite a portfolio of like stuff, and I mean, snowboarding is like one of like my biggest passions. And I was like, well, it'd look cool if I could like put my art on a snowboard. Like, let's just like see what it looks like, and then it started turning in more into an art project for me, putting the art on the snowboard and then putting like another crazy background on it. And seeing what I could do to like make, bring in that graphic element in again with the art and trying to make it successful. Hopefully like I have a list like this long of, artistic projects that I want to, and one of them is to put together like a snowboard book, to, maybe send to a company someday, who knows, but because I would like to push, I would like to push that snowboard design and industry more into like an artistic way. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know what's like the biggest thing holding it back, honestly. I think it's just probably like they're scared, scared of some crazy stuff, some crazy art, but it's not even that crazy. That's the thing, like all the stuff you're doing, it's cool.
It's like cool. Those mandalas on the bottom of the snowboard I think would look super cool, and I think people would be super into it.
Definitely. Hopefully.
We'll
Has anyone gotten any of your designs tattooed, or have you just done some mock-ups?
I've done one for my cousin.
Okay.
I feel like there's like one or two out there as well.
Nice.
I'm just drawing a blank, but none of the crazy ones that I've done, because that's like another on my list of like things to do is like talk to a tattoo artist and be like, what of this is possible, because I'm not tatted at all, so I don't really know the process or like, but because I use really bold colors and I have these textures, so I like when I did those mock-ups of those tattoos, like I dumbed everything down. Like I took a lot of the shading down, and I took a lot of the texture out and everything, and just being like, okay, is this possible? I just need to talk to somebody and see.
I think that's similar with the snowboards too, because the way the bases are printed versus the top sheets is totally different. Like we can't do the same graphics on the base. Like the top we could go wild, do whatever, but the base is very limited. Because those are all die cuts. So it's very like, has to be blocky, like something that you could create a template and punch it out of material.
Gotcha. Because it's
Yeah.
like, what is it like set in the wax or something, or like?
So the base is made out of it's kind of like a plexiglass, like, or fiberglass material. So we just get them in blocks of colors. And then whatever, it's usually like either like some words on the base or our logo, and we'll punch out that in one color and the other color, and then
Oh, and then like puzzle them together.
Yeah. So it's, some companies do it differently, but yeah, that's something that's like pretty limited. So the design has to be pretty
Okay.
more basics.
Yeah, for
Similar
sure.
with tattoos, like in colors too. Like, yeah. But there's some crazy tattoos out there now.
There
It's
are,
insane.
and I like the ones that are like kind of look like watercolors, and
Oh, yeah.
don't have like that outline and everything, and kind of like spill out and everything. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
how is this gonna age? But who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, it's like I have all these ideas, and I need to like talk to, because not everything works out the way that you want it to.
Right.
Like I was using this company to print my business cards, and it was like, yeah, you can make one side all the same, but then like you can have like 50 different designs on the back. So I was like in a back and forth email with them, like battling, like being like, you can do this on one side, I know you can do 50 different on both sides. Like I wanted my art on one side and photography on the other, and just like mix and match so every single card was different.
That's cool,
and
yeah.
everything. And I was like, I
see
went
why
through
you
like
couldn't.
a dozen emails with them being like, you have this technology, like I will pay extra if it's just time, like you can do this. And they were like, no, we can't.
Weird.
Yeah. And it's just like, I worked in printing for a while, like I worked at like a vinyl shop and everything, and I was like, there just must be something that I just don't understand to
It's
why
probably
this isn't.
some dumb thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But I think they were sick of hearing them from me.
Probably just
They like literally, like I think it was someone high up, like personally
shit.
emailed me and was like, listen, I know what you're asking, we cannot do it, stop asking. And I was like, fine, fuck you.
Oh,
So
Did you find another?
I have a printer, a buddy of mine who works at a printer in Durango,
Okay.
and I asked him, and he was like, dude, I can't do that, it's going to take so much time to set up the file. And I was like, dude, send me the file, I will set it up how you need it exactly. If it's not right, just call me and I'll make the changes. I will set up the file and send it to you. All you have to do is print it and cut it. He was like, cool, yeah, do you want to take the time to do it? So
Nice.
that's I'm in the middle of working on that right
Okay.
now.
Hell yeah.
But I was like determined. I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this happen.
No, that's a sick idea.
Yeah. So
Yeah. What was it like working for a print shop? You cut, like, did that
yeah,
affect your art at all, or like did that
it did. I don't know if it affected my art, but it affected my ability to like produce successful art in the end. Like that very last step of like sending it to a place to print.
Yeah.
Because like knowing how printers work and the capabilities and like what files they need and how they need to be set up and all of that, like streamlined everything. So now like I know when I'm like starting a file, I know how to set it up and like what ratio and things like that. And because that was another problem that I had, was like I painted all these things, and then it came time to like being like, okay, now I think I want to print them, but I made them all the same like ratio, and it was like some weird ratio that didn't fit anything like any pre-made like frame or anything, and like being like, and having to take them out and like rework them a little bit so that they don't crop in here. Yeah. Because I think I just started, I was like, what is Instagram's like best ratio? And they was like, cool, I'll just use that, and produced like a quarter of my paintings, at the beginning that way. Yeah. So
yeah, no, it definitely helps with production. That's interesting. Yeah, because like with my paintings, I guess the one thing I deal with is like framing, and I just started like making my own frames, because I would work on a lot of like random materials, and like I would get stuff that is like sized to like, there's definitely gonna be frames, like this is an 8x11, 17 by 20, whatever. But then I would just start working on random stuff, and I was like, it just became easier to make my own frames, because there's not gonna be anything that fits this. Like that's what I'm gonna do with Art Piece, because that was it's a weird, it's like too long for any frame that I'm gonna find. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you do that, because I have on my list to print ours out, and so we
Okay.
both sign it and put it in a nice frame
Oh,
and,
nice.
all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I think it'd be sick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's so nice that you like are able to make your own frames, because that's just like something. Just having this space is awesome. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know, being a nomad and like having because I'm in a different house every week.
Right.
And so it's really hard for me to like get into a routine or like
Yeah.
work on something and then like have to move a house and set like my whole office, you know, thing back up and then like get that momentum back into like
Definitely.
doing that is difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it is cool with what you do because basically all you need is your iPad, right?
Yeah. To do like the drawings.
Yeah,
This thing
yeah.
is perfect because I just bring this thing around.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like the whole back half of,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like
everything else.
Etsy and, all the, you know, like websites and goddamn social media. How do you handle it? How do you do social media?
I
I'm
don't-
like on the verge of hiring some guy from India that I like can just pay like $10 an hour and I just send him like 4 images and I'm just like, do whatever.
I know, man.
I'm
I feel
losing
that.
my
I feel
mind.
that. It's weird. It's like, I mean, things like this help, right? Because like we're filming for whatever an hour or so,
Mhm.
and then like I can like cut this up into a lot of different tiny sections and have a lot of stuff to post out of this one thing.
Yeah.
But then there's like taking the time to like go through and cut all those up and then export them and then like size them up for like it's a lot, dude. It's a fucking lot. And the thing that's like helped me is like I'll like spend like days doing certain things, you know, like kind of like chunkate things into like one
Mm-hmm.
and like just have a lot of stuff. Like one day like I'll get a lot of posts ready and then just have them all in my drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So then like I'm not like every day like editing stuff for social media or like getting like posts ready, because like that's just not what I want to be doing. But like I've thought about that too, because like it is like I want to grow this and like make money off of it and like be able to do it more often,
Yeah.
and like be able to make this my full-time thing so I can do it as much as I want. So like I like need to make money off of it and like need to use social media because that's where I've seen the most growth doing
Mhm.
that. But then like it's a lot to keep up with, and I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be making art.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much because I sit down with like a cup of coffee and I start like doing like social media and the shops and websites and like all this stuff, and then I look at the clock and it's like 12:30 and I'm like, what the hell? Like I just wanted to sit down with my coffee and draw.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky. Yeah, I don't know if there's a good way. I mean, definitely like ideally like having a team and like people to help you out and not doing everything. You know?
Yeah.
Like, because like you shouldn't be doing everything, but you kind of have to do everything at
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's gonna be a lot until it's not. You know,
Mhm.
like it's just like weird phase where like, and it's interesting too with your dad, because like this was never a thing for him. You know,
Yeah.
he never posted his art anywhere.
No,
probably.
no. I mean, I managed his Facebook
Okay.
thing, and half the time he would forget he was like on his studio page and like be posting like political shit, and I'd have to like go through and delete it and be like, Dad, stop! No one wants to see this. Oh man, at least he was
That's
a
awesome.
liberal, so.
Okay.
But
He didn't
yeah.
talk too many people.
Yeah. So he hated that shit. He never
Oh.
wanted to work with it and
Right.
everything. But
But he was still able to like make it without that. You know. Like,
yeah,
it's like different times. Like you probably could make it without it, but like it's one of those things where it's like, why wouldn't you use it too? You know, at the
Yeah.
same time.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And yeah, because I told him, I was like, hey, like, do you ever like go into juried shows or anything? And he was like, yeah, like when you used to mail off like your images or whatever. But he was like, it's all online now. Like I don't want to like oh, like that's another thing that like you have to like do. That's do you enter jury shows?
no.
No, okay. Like
Wait.
magazines and galleries
Oh,
or like
no.
whatever. They'll like do like they'll have a call out for art or whatever.
Yeah. Not really. Like the first ever gallery I've had my stuff up in was the Denver Art Society
Mhm.
here, and that's such a different kind of gallery. And then I've just done some art shows. Do you know about Pancakes and Booze?
Mm-mm.
It's this. It goes throughout all the like major cities of the U.S., but it's just this traveling art show. So I've done that a couple times. Just just done shows like that, but never anything else
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, because I'm finding that there's just so many things that like waste your time.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something like you realize after the fact too, is like a lot of the stuff like does like become a waste of time, and it's like it's something like you can't like let that hold you back. Like you can't think of it as a waste of time, you know, but it can feel like that. But yeah, it's weird. You just kind of have to.
Because I've noticed a big other time suck that I think is really interesting and that I think needs a fix is like trying to get into like cafes and breweries and everything.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend and I thought, you know, there must be like an app or a website that like
nice.
you like submit your stuff, like they can see your stuff, you can like, you know, be like, hey, can you check out my stuff, see if we'll like a good match? No, you have to go to these places and like get business cards or talk to like, you know, get phone numbers written down on napkins.
Yeah, because the person you want to talk to is never there.
Never there. And then you email them and you don't hear anything back. And like 3 weeks later, I send her like a follow-up email, don't hear anything back. I'm like, okay, like I spent all day going to like breweries and cafes and I've got like one response back. I'm going to lose my mind.
Dude, that's another thing too, is like, with that, I've started like me and my girlfriend would do that too, but then I've just been like all the artists people I follow, like they'll post like, oh, I just got my art up in this, and then I'll hit them up because like that's worked better for me a little bit
on like social media.
Yeah, like wait to see like, oh, someone's got their art up, because another thing is like they all do it so differently. Like some of them you can just like go throw your art up and like you get all the money. Other of them like you have to like sign waivers and they're gonna like put you in their payroll. Other of them are just gonna like want to take a percentage off. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and then they all have like different hanging like, like we want like
only,
a French
only
cleave
command strips, only wired up, only, dude.
You're like, okay, like let me like take these off and put this new thing in. God.
Pretty much all my paintings have like wires and command strips on them, and like multiple ways to hang them on.
Because it's like you never know. Oh man.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's all a learning game. Like, and it's like I was talking to one of my buddies earlier this week. It's like this thing, like it's kind of what makes it cool, but frustrating at the same time. Like there's so much to it. Like there's so many aspects. Like it's this never-ending like game, but like there's so much where it gets like overwhelming, and it's like it can get frustrating. Like not know what to do or where to go.
Yeah, it's that learning process, and then you don't realize until a few months later that you did something completely stupid and like how no one else would do it, and you're like, oh my god, I look like a jackass.
It happens.
But I guess you live and you learn, and it's a hard game to like get into, you know.
But that's cool. Is like, you think your like dad was the biggest reason you got into it?
I don't know. I mean, because like his mom like was an artist as well. She was like big into color, like drawing in watercolor, and you know it must go back and back. So I don't know if this is something that I would have just fallen into. But his influence definitely like showed me that path. You know, and that it's possible.
Okay.
Because I think otherwise, I just even thinking about starting without that influence or seeing what he did. I mean, it's just like another like 12 steps back that I like am really lucky that I didn't have to start with, that learning process. I'll just like
be in a way different place for sure.
Because I would see like how he interacted with like galleries and like people who came in to like buy stuff, and because he did like open studios in Boulder, so I would see how he would talk to like people who came in and explain his stuff, which it's really funny because I think he hated like artist statements.
Okay.
And he would just like write like a one paragraph, I think just like bullshit, like because I think he like had to, and was talking about how like this is like my poetry or whatever, but I think when I read it I just see him rolling his eyes. And it's like, I don't know, do you write artist statements or anything?
No, that's how I feel about writing like titles sometimes. Like it feels like almost redundant, like why do I even need to, like, why should I come up with a name for it? Like I can't come up with a name that's gonna describe this. Like I just made this crazy piece, like there's no words that are gonna like but that's not all the time, like I was saying, but like I feel that with like titles, it's like is this like just like not what the art's meant to be. Like, there's like, this is just supposed to be a visual thing, and you get what you get from it. Like, I don't want to add words to like say what it means or anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a way, like, it must be like, you know, to go back to like the corniness, like the pouring of the soul or whatever, you know. But it's like, it's all been said. Like, I just want to make shit that looks cool.
Right. Like trying to describe like one of your hooies. Like, like how are you gonna put like what words are you gonna put to it? You know.
Exactly.
Like...
Yeah. And then with this new plexi piece is like. I'm entering these into like juried shows, but you can only enter like a certain number of like images or whatever, and I'm like, how do I describe this?
Oh,
in like less than 2,000 words or whatever, and like and not be able to submit extra images? Like, I don't understand. Like, how do you expect me? I can't. It's hard for me to convey this piece like by mouth to somebody, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to use like a written description to judge a visual piece. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's they want these like bios and like, what's your process? I don't know what the fuck your process is, man. Just draw.
Yeah, and that's like kind of a reason like why I started this too, because it's like something you can't really just like you need a lot of time to talk about this stuff and to really like explain what's going on. Like, that's the only way I've been able to do it, is like talking over it over a long time and like multiple times, you know. Like, it doesn't even come up right away, a lot of the ideas and the intentions behind all this stuff.
Do you get ideas while you're doing these, like in the middle of like a sentence? Are you just like, oh wait?
Yes, sometimes. Like, or just like, because I try to get like a lot of different artists on, so I was trying to like try and take something away from everyone, or like learn something from like what they're doing. So I usually I can't say I've like gotten an idea like, I'm gonna make this piece from being like, but I have gotten a lot of like inspiration and like learned techniques and stuff through doing this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
but then
cool.
I feel like my ideas, like, it happens the most when I'm doing like, when I'm not like a lecture, like when I'm at work and I'm like kind of in like that zoned out phase, or like taking a shower or something, like start doing this like monotonous thing, and then like that's when like ideas will just start popping in my head, like when I'm not thinking about it, trying to think about anything, and then I'll just get these random ideas. And then I like have to always try to write it down, or else it's gone.
I do. When I was driving, because I drive Uber a little bit, I was like in the middle of an Uber ride, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be such a cool idea. And to like keep it in my head until I drop the person off, and then I just use Siri now, where I just like I'm like, remind me in an hour this idea. Like,
yeah, I have crazy notes in my phone and computer, and but and then I have Post-it notes all over the place, and
exactly.
Definitely. But yeah, did you get a re-meet with your 5th grade teacher yesterday? Your photography teacher?
Yeah.
Or high school teacher?
High school teacher. Yeah.
How was that?
It was awesome.
Yeah?
His name was Mr. Krupp. He was such a rad dude. In fact, when I was a senior, during like the first semester, during his finals, was like dumping in Beaver Creek. And my best friend at the time, we were in the same class with him, and we came in and we were like, Mr. Krupp, here's our papers. We're so sorry, but we have to go skiing. And he looked at us like, no. And we're like, see ya. We passed. That's just like the kind of guy he was.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. I learned that he was like one of the first adopters to like digital painting, like on a phone. And he had the first ever like full show of like iPhone digital art.
Oh, whoa.
And I like, when he was explaining it to me, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, like, could be cool. And then he showed them to me, and they are so cool.
Yeah.
They're like he like zooms way in, and because they were like, it was like a vector based program and everything, and he like drew these crazy like landscapes and still lifes, and yeah, it was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So yeah, and then we talked art for a little while and got him, I think, trying to convince him to go to Burning Man.
Oh, nice.
Have you ever been?
No. I would love to go.
You gotta go, man.
Yeah.
The art out there is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it what else besides like the giant wood sculptures.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like sometimes there's just like tents with like just weird like kind of artwork and like kinetic sculptures and artwork that because like everything you can touch, you can climb on, you can like do everything. I mean, there was a spike in the ground with like 10 cars piled all on top of it, so you could like climb to the top. And I mean, it's just. And then the fact that there's like these wooden pieces out there that are so intricate, and you can see like how many like tens of thousands of man hours like went into, and then like on Wednesday night they'll just burn it.
Everything goes away.
And you're like, that was here for like 2.5 days. Like, so if you don't see it, like it's gone.
Yeah, that's interesting to like put your effort into that too. Yeah. Like something where it's like it's going to be here for a couple of days and then it's gone forever.
Yeah. And yeah, just the amount of money and resources and like just to like for this like week-long thing that they're not going to make any money, but they just want to make something beautiful. The coolest thing that that I've seen out there, it's probably like 4 or 5 years ago, they built this like cube and they put like 4 artists inside of it, and the artists weren't allowed to like see out. They never left the cube. They were brought meals and drinks and everything, and there was like a little slot and you could write down on a piece of paper something you saw that was like profound or interesting or funny or something, and you'd like write it down and put it through this little slot, and they would like take it and they would draw like in the inside of the cube, and they would just draw what they thought Burning Man looked like.
That is crazy.
It was super cool.
And then they like showed it at the end.
Yeah.
Or you could see it the whole time.
Yeah, no, you couldn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't until the very end.
Oh,
and, yeah.
Dude, that's epic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a crazy concept though.
Right. Yeah, you got to go out there, man. I think it's just your style. It's so cool.
I would love to. Yeah. That's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
Do you go?
I go every year.
Every year.
I like am co-captain of a camp out there.
Oh shit!
It's a ski themed camp, so we have like ski fencing and shot skis and all that stuff. It's really funny.
That's epic.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, it's super fun.
How many years you been?
I think 5 or 6 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
epic.
Yep. We're taking this year off, but next year we're going.
Nice.
Yep. And then we also have like a sister camp now. That's like one of our buddies, his brother like broke off and made this camp, and when he told us about it, we were like, I don't know if it's going to be successful, but it's like he has all these props and he built a huge stage with like lighting and everything, and you just choose a song and you get up there like with your buddies, and there's like a fake drum kit made of like Gatorade things, and and there's like you have a ski or a mop for like and there's like an ironing board for like a keyboard, so you can just like pretend to play these like songs or whatever, and we're like, no, that might be cool. And the first time I got up there, I was singing Nirvana, and I was just like, I felt like a rock god.
You're
just like up there, just playing. And I like look down, and there's like 100 people just like, yeah, and you're like, holy fuck, I feel like you're delayed.
That's kind of amazing.
It's so fun.
That's
After the first night, we were like, this is the best camp ever.
That is an epic idea.
Yeah, but there's just like so many like cool like weird things out there that just like artistically that are just like, wow, how did like someone think of this, and how did you get it out here? And like because like there's like these art cars out there. I mean, they're just like these giant cars that are just like they're pieces of art.
Shit.
Yeah, it's so cool. And you can like get on them, you can like ask them for rides, you can get on them and ride around with them, and
dude, that's
so cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay,
I'm down. You convinced me. Yeah, I've been to like Bonnaroo. It's some other. I went to Rise here, but so I like that. I would love that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I already know I would love that.
Well, you got a spot in our camp if you want to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to go to the air guitar camp for sure.
Yeah, dude. They're right next door to us. It's super fun.
Dude.
Yep.
Well, I think I got one more question for you, unless you got anything else you want to talk about.
No, just let it come naturally if I think of something. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering, what does art mean to you?
Oh, man. I knew there was going to be a question like this.
Not a banger.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That's hard to explain. I mean, I guess just for me, it's just like something that's just like aesthetically pleasing. It's really difficult to like have a piece of art that like moves me emotionally. I guess like besides like maybe some music and movies. But as far as like kind of just physical art, like on the wall or mural or anything, as long as it's like aesthetically pleasing and, I don't know, texture and color and all of that working successfully is like a successful piece of art. I mean, it's, art that I find beautiful and no one else is not everyone else. 90% of people might not. One that 90% of people might find beautiful, I think I rarely find. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know, man. I just know that it's like part of the human experience, probably the oldest part of human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really bizarre. I was thinking about this just the other week. Was like, why? Like, why? Why do we do this?
Thanks for listening. Share this with your friends if you liked it. And don't forget to be cool. Peace out.